And we have struck gold once again. Welcome on in, folks. This is your chapter master, Spoos and Studs, and we are going to be taking an in-depth look at two action figures today, both of the Adeptus Custodes chapter. The first one that we're going to be taking a look at is the Shield Captain with the Guardian Spear, and the second one is the Custodian Guard with the Sentinel Blade. Let's just hope JoyToy keeps up the excellent work as they did with the first release of the Adeptus Custodes.
Here we go!
24 karat gold, baby. Oh yeah.
Alright.
First off, we're going to take a look at the Custodian Guard with the Sentinel Blade, and obviously, as usual, we're going to be starting off with taking a look at the top, going all the way down to the bottom of this action figure. So just like the Adeptus Custodes that was released earlier on, we have a beautiful looking tassel that's up top that is multicolored. So you have a base coat of red, and it's got shading in between the hairs of the tassel, as well as very nice looking yellow highlights that stand out. And then going on down, you have this awesome Baroque armor. You can see that there is shading that is going on in between the designs on the armor as well as in the recesses. There is also silver highlighting that is on the highest points of the armor piece as well, which again echoes the other Adeptus Custodes that have been released. There are some nice translucent blue gems. The lenses on the helmet are a nice translucent red color. Now, taking a look at the back of this action figure, which is not really something that I say too much, there is a double Aquila here, and you can see that this double Aquila has these power nodes that are sticking out too, which give it more character. Let's take a look at this pauldron. More Royal Eagle insignias as well as iconography. You can see that there are the double heads of the eagle's feathers down here, as well as the eagle's wings. Let's flip around to the other side. In this side's designs is completely different from the other side, although there is the same motif of the double Aquila with the feathers up top here. Plenty of blue gems that are adorned all over the place. As we take a look at the center of this action figure, you get the characteristic Custodes insignia, more translucent blue gems. And taking a look at the arms of this action figure, I would have to say that these wrist straps are very interesting looking too. They really mimic leather very well, although I would have liked to see a little bit more shading as well as some highlights on it, but that's okay. Now, looking at the middle point of this action figure, there is a very prominent belt buckle here. Once again, double Aquila, translucent blue, shading that is in between the iconography as well as the armor. And as we flip on the other side here, more Baroque iconography that has plenty of highlights and shading as well. We flip to the other side. It is pretty much the same, except that there is a hole in which we can put the Misericordia. And as we move on down, the same motif follows the whole entire action figure. More golden goodness with the highlight of the silver, as well as shading in the recesses. So we're going to flip this action figure over and take a look at what's going on in the back. And I'll have to say the back looks very, very ornate, as I had pointed out before earlier. Double-headed eagles, feathers, wings, highlights, and shading all over the place. So I'm going to put this guy down and take a look at the Sentinel Blade. I'll have to say that this Sentinel Blade is very different looking from the power swords that the Space Marines wield. And the biggest difference is actually how these things are colored. Instead of the usual dark gunmetal to light silver transition, the dark gunmetal is here. There's extensive weathering with this light silver area. However, the biggest difference is that there's that translucent blue at the edge of the Sentinel Blade. And as we move on down with the Sentinel Blade, and you can see that there's the tip of the gun of the Sentinel Blade on this side, as well as over here. So let's take a look at the Misericordia, and just like the other Adeptus Custodes, this Misericordia is fully functional with its scabbard. You can pull it out, and the blade of the Misericordia is a monotone silver color, and the hilt of it has the ornate double eagle's head on it as well. And then we are going to take at the bareheaded version on this action figure. Obviously, this Custodes is rocking a mohawk here. The eyes are fairly nicely screened and lots of shading in the deep recesses, especially around the nose. And there are very prominent rosy lips from this action figure. But overall, a solid looking face. All right, let's see what this shield captain with the Guardian Spear has to offer us. Once again, the same gorgeous looking tassel up here with the very colorful highlighting, shading, as well as the base color. The design here on the top of the helmet is actually different from his Sentinel Blade counterpart, and there's an interesting looking eagle that is actually sticking out over here that I failed to point out on the first action figure. We can see that the pauldron is exactly the same as the Sentinel Blade counterpart. There's a difference in that the deeper recesses over here are red, which denotes this guy as a captain, obviously. And as we flip this over to the other side, this iconography is different, where you have an eagle that's kind of in a triangular shape, and there is a translucent blue gem here in the center, as well as more of this rich red color. So moving on down to the middle section of this action figure, the iconography in the middle of the shield captain is the same. However, this is a silver color rather than a gold color. So in the center of this shield captain is a gigantic USC type belt where you have these laurels on the outside and a blue gem in the center of it. On the side of this shield captain is beautiful Baroque iconography. On the tabard / loincloth of this action figure, you can see that this area is very heavily shaded, which is very nice. There's a lot of depth on this action figure. And moving on down, we get to see more Adeptus Custodes iconography. Let's flip this around and see what is on the back of this action figure. And lo and behold, we have this gorgeous black cape that is in the back. You can see at the top of the cape is the same corded tassels that we saw in the front of this captain. And just like the front, there is plenty of shading in between the recess of the cords. There is the same eagle amulet over here. And then here is some beautiful iconography that I'm not exactly sure what the meaning of it is, but there are laurels that are on the outside. We see these types of arrows, and on the highest ridges of the cape are highlights, and on the back of the cape it is pretty much almost like a monochrome red color. So we're going to put this guy down and take a look at the Guardian Spear. So on the blade of the Guardian Spear, you do get to see a slight progression of a very thin dark gunmetal gray transitioning to a lighter silver, and it has a nice blue hue on the edge of the blade. On the shooting portion of the blade, there is the characteristic eagle's head with the feathers down here. And on the magazine, it is dark gunmetal, just like the Primaris bolters that has been heavily weathered. So we flip around to the other side, it is more or less the same. And then progressing down the shaft of the spear is more Baroque iconography, more eagle's heads, and it is the same case on this side as well. Now that both of these Custodes have been extensively reviewed, it's time to wrap this video up with my final thoughts. JoyToy continues to amaze me with these Adeptus Custodes releases. I really think that they put all their effort into these action figures because, well, they tend to have a lot more highlights, they tend to have a lot more shading, and the designs are just absolutely fantastic. So with the shield captain, I really love the cape, especially the insignia that goes on the back of him. I also really dig the Guardian Spear, as well as just the general sculpt of the helmet, as well as that tassel. As I said before in my first Adeptus Custodes videos, I love the tassel because there are so many colors, there's so much depth to it, and again, the Baroque armor is just absolutely amazing with all the intricate design and details that are imparted onto it. So with the Custodian Guard, with the Sentinel Blade too, he looks very, very similar, obviously, to the shield captain, as to be expected. But the thing that really makes him stand out is the face sculpt, as he actually has a unique face sculpt compared to his shield captain. And the other thing too that I'm going to mention is the Sentinel Blade is really awesome looking as well. You have that nice blue glowing tip, as well as the shooting portion that is at the hilt of the sword, which is an ingenious design that I absolutely love. So I hope you all enjoyed this in-depth review. I hope you all will actually tune into more of these reviews because we have way more Adeptus Custodes to dive into. So please join me in those reviews in the very near future. And I thank you all for watching all these videos. I appreciate every single one of your support. If you're interested in getting these action figures and want to support me as well as the vendor, please consider clicking the link in the description below to pick up your very own Adeptus Custodes. And as usual, thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next one.